Hey guys, today's video is going to be my update to my 2 weeks 1 palette, which has now turned into an entire month. I kept it for 2 weeks and then I didn't really use it very much, so I decided to keep it an extra week, and then I didn't even use it that extra week, and then I didn't have time to update or do my update, so then I kept it an extra week. This palette I got a really long time ago when it initially came out, and at one point this was my favorite palette. It was a palette that I reached for the most above any palette that I had at that time, and you could see it because there are dents in this palette. For me, dents are major because I have so many palettes and I would try to rotate them all the time. You can tell that I really enjoyed it at one point. And I think my favorite thing out of this palette is just the color scheme of it. This is right up my alley. I feel like if I didn't have any other palette and all of the shadows performed very well, I would be fully satisfied. But with that being said, not all shadows perform very well in this palette, and I'm so sad. So I'll start off with the shadows that I actually enjoy the most out of this palette. The first one being this one right here, which is a caramel color. I don't know the names of these, by the way, because I tossed my insert, but it's more of a caramel matte color. Really well, works very well on its own. I have used this all over the lid, into the crease, and down right under here, and then grabbed a darker shade just to create a little bit of a liner by my lash line, and been completely satisfied with that look. Not only does it blend very well on its own, but it does blend very well. It really pairs up very well with all of the other shadows because it helps blend them out without creating a muddy mess. Another shadow that is my favorite, actually this one's my favorite shadow in the palette, is this one right here, which is more of that champagne color. It's really pretty. This is more of a multitasker for me because not only can I use it on my lids, but I really like it as a highlight as well. I didn't use it that way this time around, but in the past I have used it with a more dense brush just to blend it out so that there's not chunks of shimmer on my face. Another shadow that I also reach for the most is this one right here. So normally I'll grab this one, put it in the crease, grab this one, deepen it out just a hint, just a smidge, and then grab this one and put it all over the lid, and then bring it into my inner corner, and I'm completely done with it. And then I'll go back with this one and then just kind of darken up a little bit on the lower lash line. And for me, that was my most worn look back in the day. And this time around, it was a go-to look for me because it was the simplest. It was very airy, it was very fresh, and it was very natural looking. So for an everyday basis for me, that works out very, very well. Shadows that I find that have hard pan and not hard pan, but they're very densely pressed in, so it could be a good thing and a bad thing. A good thing is that you can pick up the shadow and build it up slowly, so you can build up and control the intensity of it. Bad thing is that they're very hard, so it's very difficult for you to pick up the shadow. This one, this one, this one right here. These two are very similar in finish. They have more of like that shimmery kind of finish. This one has more of a burgundy. This one has more of a brown. This one's very similar, but honestly, I forgot about this shadow. I just noticed it yesterday and I was like, I didn't even, no, not even yesterday, today, this morning, I didn't even use it. I completely forgot that it was there. This one and this one are very hard. So they are shadows that you have to try to build up, and even then you don't get the intensity. I don't know, it's just they're not my favorite. This one I used in the Get Ready With Me. I'll link down below. I used this palette for Get Ready With Me. I wasn't fully satisfied with the look, but you know, that's life. That doesn't always happen, you know what I mean? So sometimes it just doesn't work out. And I tried to salvage it by topping it off with this one, which made it look better, but it wasn't my favorite eye look. This one right here I used in the Get Ready With Me, and this one, although it has little shimmers in there, I don't know if you guys can see that, it has little shimmers in there. It performs like a matte, but it is a shadow again that is very hard. It was a shadow that built up on itself, and it worked really well. It just wasn't my favorite. I felt like it didn't spread out as evenly as I would like it to. It skipped a little bit, but with just a little bit of extra blending, it ended up working out. This shadow right here is a matte, like kind of espresso brown, and I only used it to set my liner up on top, or just to add a little bit of depth here very close to the lash line. It's just you know, an espresso brown. It has a lot of fallout. That's another thing, is a lot of these shadows have a lot of fallout. So for me, it was a struggle because I always do my complexion first. Today, I remember to do my eyes first and then my complexion. But with this palette, with a lot of the shadows, especially when you're dealing with this one right here, this one, this one, this one, this one. I did get a little bit of fallout from this one today, but not as much. It's just a fallout. It's just a disaster, basically. So if you're going to be using this palette, just remember to start with your eyes first and then do your complexion. That was just that was a learning curve for me this time around. This shadow right here is this really pretty kind of shifty white kind of pink, borderline pink shadow. I only use this one underneath my brows, very, very close to the brows, just to add a little bit of a pop. But that was it. This was a cream matte shadow, which is just a cream matte shadow. Performs really well. I didn't use it as much because I have 2 cream shadows in my project pan, so I focused on those. This by far is probably one of the worst shadows in this entire palette. It is pointless. You can see, I don't know if you could see the chalkiness, and just, it's just, I don't know. I don't like that shadow, so I reached for it I think once, twice maybe, and that was it. I gave up on it. I tried putting it in my inner corner and bringing it up a little bit, but it was skipping and it was just showing color in one part and then not on the other one. So then I tried topping it off with this one just to kind of hide it. It's just not a very well performing shadow. This shadow right here, I mentioned in when I introduced this palette in the 2 weeks 1 palette, that it's not even a powdery shadow, it is a very crumbly shadow. But the color of this one performs way better than this one. Like, these 3 have a very similar finish, but these right here, I feel like the color payoff is just not there. They perform a little bit better when wet, and that is the only way that I can use it. Otherwise, the glitter ends up on top, like all over my face and not even on my eyes, which is very, very frustrating because they are very pretty shadows. So actually, in one of my pictures on Instagram, Lorraine from, I think it's LS Makeup, I will link her channel down below, she said that this one shifts a little bit on the brown side for her. For me, it actually didn't do that. It stayed that really pretty green color, and the way that I ended up using it is by putting my Urban Decay primer potion and then picking it up with a flat shader, a very dense flat shader brush, and wetting it and then stamping it on my eyes. And I found that not only did I get the intensity of the eyeshadow, I didn't get as much fallout. I did get some fallout, but not as much. But it did last on my eyes a very long time. Today I left the last shadow is the gold one because I don't use gold very often. It is my least favorite on my eyes. It looks really pretty. I actually really like my eye look. I just don't use gold shadows very often. I don't gravitate towards them very often, but I really like this one. It's really nice. This one's more of an antique gold. Now this one right here, I feel like when you apply it dry, it doesn't show as intense as it's showing right now. So I prefer using it wet. So what I did this time around is I grabbed this shadow, put it all over the crease. And then I grabbed this shadow right here because I hadn't used it as much, and then applied it in the like at the end right here, and just slowly circled it and then started gradually bringing it up this way. And then I grabbed the gold shadow and stamped it on in this area right here. And then I grabbed this shadow again and then, you know, deepened out the lower lash line. For me, the favorites looks that I got from this palette is when I was using 3 shadows and less. Anytime I went over that, I felt like it just became a mess for me. I used 3 different purple burgundy shadows in my last Get Ready With Me. I used this one. I tried using this one right here, which is the brownie one, and it just ended up looking like a whole purple, like a burgundy eye, and I was just like, that is not what I wanted to go for. I also used this one right here, and then this one, like I used one in my inner area, like first half of my lid, and then the other one on the outer half of my lid, and they ended up looking very similar, which was really strange. I ended up liking the eye look, but they just look, it created no dimension on my eyes. I want to really like this palette. I just don't love it as much as I thought I did at one point. But I still didn't get sick of it. I still like some of the shadows. I may actually get rid of some of them and just pop them right out because they're just pointless. Like this one's pointless to me. I love the color of this one. I need to see if I can, if I have something in my stash that I can substitute it with, because the formula is just really not that. It's too crumbly for my liking. So the palette that I'm going to be using for the next couple of weeks is the Balm Nude Tude, and I'm picking this palette because it has gotten the least amount of usage out of most of the palettes actually. This one and my Nike palette are my least used palettes. So this one right over here, I don't know what it is. I like it. I'm just kind of like, you know what I mean? I really like this burgundy shadow right here. This matte one. I think what I struggle with is that all of these have some form of sheen. Not really a lot of mattes. Really matte wise is only this one and this one, and I just don't use like shimmer on a regular basis because I have, you know, if I relax my eyes, I have slightly hooded lids, so I need the matte shades. I'm really looking forward to it. I think I can create very natural looking eyes. I think that's all I have time for right at this very moment, so this one should work out for me very, very well. That is everything for this video. It is way longer than what I wanted it to be, but I really wanted to give you guys more information about the chocolate bar palette. I will try to take pictures. If I don't post them on my Instagram, I will try to insert them into this video, but I really want to get this video out because I do not want to be late, and I just don't have time later on today to do this. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you guys in the next one.